Hey bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today I'm going to show you how to clean up the worst messes we make when we make our own skincare and cosmetics. Those messes are, in first and second place, very pigmented, waxy things, so things like lipstick and eyeliner and other colorful cosmetics, and then just waxy things with kind of the more wax being the worst to clean. There is a partner blog post for this video. It's much broader. It talks about a lot more different types of messes and necessary equipment and recommended equipment and tips and tricks and so on and so forth. And I did think about making an entire video partner for that, and I filmed it, and then it was really just like you watching me do dishes, and it really wasn't that interesting. So I thought we would just do the worst mess, and if you are looking for more tips and tricks, make sure you read the blog post linked in the description box below. One of the best things you can do to make your cleanup easier is honestly just make less of a mess. The sort of overarching theme there is make sure that the messy product, the lipstick or lip balm or whatever, touches as few things as possible. Right out of the bat, make sure that the container you're working in is about as small as possible. You obviously need, working room so that you can stir it, and so like working in a thimble would be a little tricky, but you wouldn't want to make this amount of lipstick in a huge container because that's just more surface area of container that you're going to have to clean later. And when it comes to transferring the product to the container it's going to live in, if I was making something like a lotion or a shampoo, I would happily use a funnel or a syringe to sort of make that transfer a little bit easier, but I really don't recommend using things like funnels and syringes to try to fill a lipstick tube or something like that, because now you have to get lipstick out of a funnel, and that is a massive pain in the backside. So to that end, if you know you're going to be pouring your concoction into a narrow orifice, I would recommend making it in a container that has a pouring spout so that you can do that without the aid of a funnel or anything other thing that you're gonna have to wash, especially if that thing has like a narrow little hole like funnels and syringes do. When you have finished making your product and are transferring it into its permanent home, make sure you are getting as much of the product possible out of the thing you made it in and into the thing it's gonna live in. And to that end, I highly recommend these spatulas. They are amazing. So it's got a really narrow, flexible blade so that you can really scrape and just get every last little bit out. So these things are absolutely bonza. I will link to them in the blog post linked below. They're amazing, the bestest spatulas ever, except for the handles, which are kind of short-lived. But yeah, if you can find like a bulk lot of 20 of these, I say go for it. I don't think you can ever have enough of these spatulas. Once you've got as much product as humanly possible out of your container, you're gonna wanna take a paper towel and wipe out all the excess. And depending on what the product is and depending on your composting situation, you might be able to compost this paper towel to sort of reduce the amount of garbage that you are creating. But yeah, make sure you're familiar with regulations around any municipal composting program you might be participating in. But yeah, that should be this should be so dang clean that it's like 95% of the way there. Now, you will want to do that wiping down while things are still warm and soft, because, well, yeah, that's not going anywhere. So, if it's a thing that you've made that you like and you're making it and you're melting it and you're packaging it and then you wipe out the container and you're good to go, that's awesome. But I've got a couple things here that were sort of like works in progress that I deemed to be not worthy of a package. So with these, we are going to remelt them first. So to do that, I'm just going to pop both of these in a water bath. So this is a saute pan that has like 2 centimeters of water in the bottom of it. I'm just gonna turn it on 3 out of 8 or 9 heat notches to remelt. So we'll just leave that to liquefy. While we wait for our waxy concoctions to liquefy, I want to touch on a few pieces of equipment or materials or whatever you want to call them that'll make your life a lot easier. The blog post goes into a lot more details about different kind of cleaning products I like or bits of equipment, tips and tricks, especially for more niche things you might need to clean, like a coffee grinder. But yeah, these ones I think are probably the most all-purpose cleaning things, and honestly, you probably already have most of them. So thing number one, we already touched on, paper towel. Brilliant for wiping down things and getting them as clean as possible before we get them wet. Because you know, once you get a oily, waxy, greasy mess wet, you want it to be basically clean already. Otherwise you kind of end up with like blobs of flat floating around in your dishwater, and it might go down your sink and then re-solidify in your pipes and bleh. So yeah, paper towel. And if you're having a hard time finding paper towel, or if you just think that paper towel is like not sturdy enough for your tastes, check out shop towel. So back in the spring, when it was really hard to find consumer paper goods like paper towel, I was still able to buy like an entire bale of shop towels at the hardware store. So if you have not used shop towels, they are like kind of extra sturdy paper towels. So they work a treat and are, yeah, often easier to find when paper towels are not. Up next is a really good, strong, degreasing dish detergent. So I use Dawn a lot. I've got their liquid one, and I recently purchased this one, the Platinum Power Wash, in a spray bottle. They both work great. This is not sponsored. I did actually recently switch from Palmolive to Dawn, and Dawn is better. So yeah, these guys degrease beautifully. It's fantastic. If you can get Axion, this stuff is amazeballs. I discovered this when I was spending some time in Costa Rica. It's a solid dishwashing paste. It's really concentrated. It's got I think it's some baking soda in there that makes it mildly abrasive. This stuff is incredible, and one of these tubs will last a really, really long time. If you want to make your own solid dishwashing paste, I've got a formulation for that on Humblebee and Me, my solid lemon super concentrated dishwashing paste, something to that effect. I'll link to it in the description box below, but that stuff is also amazeballs. I really don't recommend using something like soap or a more natural dish detergent. I find that natural dish detergents underperform sort of under the best of circumstances. I find I'm just like constantly going back for more to get like a soup bowl clean. So if you're cleaning up something really greasy, just get a good dish detergent. It'll make your life so much easier. You'll spend less time doing dishes, and I kind of feel like that's a good thing, less time doing dishes. So I highly recommend getting some rubber gloves. So not only does this sort of protect your hands from just tons and tons of washing and detergent use, but it also protects your hands from accidentally high concentrations of ingredients, so things like fragrances or essential oils or preservatives, which could be irritating, or even just dyes that'll just make your hands purple for like 3 days. So yeah, it's very much worth the effort of, you know, the extra like second on either end of doing your dishes to pop on a pair of rubber gloves. I got these on Amazon looking for a sturdier pair of gloves, so I can link to what I got in the blog post. They're flocked. They're maybe slightly less clammy because there's like a tiny amount of quasi fabric dust on the inside of these. They're certainly not like insulated or anything, but so far they've been lasting a lot longer than grocery store rubber gloves. Oh, and another thing, if you hate wearing rubber gloves, maybe you have the wrong size, because I hate them when they're too big. Oh my gosh, you just like, blah, blah, blah. It reminds me of like trying to like open a gate while you're wearing mittens in the middle of the winter. It's awful. So yeah, buy yourself a pair of gloves that fit. You'll like them a lot more if you don't feel like they're like rattling around on your hands and you have no dexterity. And then the last one is just a good sponge. So this is a Scotch-Brite sponge. Got it from Costco. I really like Costco. It's got a scrubby bit on the top and a nice like absorbent part on the bottom. I find these last a good long time, and they work well. I have used plenty of just garbagey sponges in my life, the ones that are just like cheap foam that you buy at the dollar store that just like fall apart and don't absorb anything, and they're infuriating to use. So just, yeah, a good sponge will make your life a heck of a lot easier. And I do recommend a sponge for this sort of thing rather than like a scrubby stick. I find that the bristles just really don't like cover the entire surface of the thing to get it clean enough. So yeah, I definitely think a sponge is the way to go. All right, we have our newly melty things. So our next step is scraping as much of this as possible into the garbage can. So you can see that, you know, this paper towel, pretty dirty. This is the second one. The other one had a lot more red on it. So that just kind of gives you an idea of just like how much work this is doing. And of course, most of what is on this is the transparent mixture. So this is roughly how clean we want our like greasy, oily, waxy containers to be before we get in there with dish detergent. Like, I can feel that this is still a little bit oily, but just a little bit. Like, we want them to be practically clean already. And yeah, at this point in time, we can now wash them. And that is it. I just kind of put everything on a dish rack to air dry, and I've even got a little tiny fan that I sometimes will turn on to sort of accelerate the drying speed. I should note that I don't own a dishwasher at this point in time, so I do have to hand wash everything. But even when I have had dishwashers, I found that they're usually only best suited, at least again, the ones that I've had, maybe you have an amazing dishwasher, usually only best suited to things like fairly fresh messes with things that mostly contain a good amount of water and some kind of an emulsifier. So like lotions usually clean up really well in a dishwasher, or like a shampoo or something. You just probably want to make sure that there's not too much shampoo left in there, or your dishwasher might sort of get like way too enthusiastic with the bubbles, and that might kind of create a different kind of dishes that you have to do, like the dishes of your floor. But yeah, greasy, oily, colorful things are the worst types of messes that we have to clean up in making things, and honestly, as you can see, it really wasn't that bad once you know what to do. If you take lipstick and you try to just like immediately go in with hot water and detergent, it's gonna be a bit of a disgusting, messy nightmare, but do it this way and it's a breeze. If you have some of your own cleaning tips that you'd like to share, please throw them in the comments below, and make sure you are reading the partner blog post for more tips and tricks and links to some of my favorite things. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, and may your dishes washing be as quick, effective, and minimal as possible. See you next time.